Hi there, it's Kevin from RogueDeckBuilder.com. Recently I was asked a question by a new player, what was a good modern deck that was affordable that he could play while still being able to afford rent at the end of the month. And also, last night I was playing some modern games with a friend of mine at the local game shop, and I was playing this Mono-Black Infect deck that you see here. And the store owner came by and was watching us play, and he commented that my deck seemed very affordable, and it seemed he'd never seen it before. And I said, yeah, it's posting up very good numbers on MTGO, and I'm testing it out. It was affordable. I had most of the cards, so I thought I'd just throw it together and test it out. And he was very interested in this. He was very excited about this because he says the number one excuse or deterrent that he hears from new players is they can't afford modern, especially since a new player that recently Magic has seen one of the greatest influx of new players ever with Return to Ravnica, and they've already shelled out quite a pretty penny for standard decks to be competitive, and they don't want to do the same thing for modern. And so that's the number one excuse he hears is I can't afford modern. But I went through the deck list with him, and we determined this deck is around, depending on how much fluff you want to put in it, it's around $50 to $100. So it's very affordable, and it's very competitive. Like I said, it's posting 3-1 and 4-0 finishes on Magic the Gathering Online. So he wanted me to make a deck list and bring it to him so he could post and maybe research a few other modern decks that are affordable. But since I am a YouTuber, since I'm a videocaster, I thought I'd make a video. So here's the deck right here, as you can see on Magic the Gathering Online, and I will be doing either a 3 or 4 game series playing this to see how well it matches up against the field. Maybe I'll enter a modern tournament with it. But let's just go down the deck list here. I'll talk about prices, I'll talk about the uses, and yeah, let's go over these. So let's go over the lands first. This particular version has a 4 of Howltooth Hollow. Howltooth Hollow is from Lorwyn, and currently right now it's sitting at 50 cents on Star City Games, and so you can get it cheaper than that elsewhere. It's a bulk rare. I haven't been able to find any of these copies in real life because no one has them. Bulk rares are the hardest thing in the world to find. You have to search through people's trash pile, and yeah. So anyway, let's just go over the abilities here. So it's a hideaway card. What hideaways do is when they come into play, you look at the top 4 cards of your library and exile one of them. And then they have an activation with a specific clause that you have to have before you can play it. This particular one is a black and tap. If you and your opponent have no cards in hand, you may play the hideaway card without paying its mana cost. So you just chuck it in, whatever it was that you exiled when Howltooth Hollow. So it's a free card basically for nothing. Basically the only drawback to Howltooth Hollow is it comes into play tapped. Another alternative to Howltooth Hollow that I like using is Boseishu Bog, or however you say that card. Comes into play tapped. It's from, I think it's from Zendikar. It might be from something in Zendikar block. I have it in my deck right now, my paper Magic deck. And what it does, it comes to play tapped, but it removes your opponent's library from the game when it comes into play. I find it to be very, very good against the modern field, as there's a lot of decks that rely on graveyard. So that's a good alternative. I wouldn't recommend running both of them. Maybe a 2 and 2 or 4 or none of each one, because having too many comes into play tap can really neuter or hinder your ability to disrupt your opponent's hand. Like first turn you want to get off a first turn Inquisition or hold up a first turn Disfigure for their Deathrite Shaman. So if you're running 8 or 6 even, I think that's too many comes into play tapped lands, especially with Inkmoth Nexus, our next card being a colorless land. So Inkmoth Nexus is of course a no-brainer in this deck. It is currently at around $5, and you can usually get these for even cheaper because a lot of players have these cards because it's a very popular card in Wolf Run Ramp and a few other strategies back in the old format. But a lot of standard players don't care about rotated cards, and you can get this for a deal. I find most everyone's binder has a few in there, and I've been able to get these for as cheap as $3, or even throw-ins. Like how about throwing an Inkmoth Nexus to kind of spice the pot up, and people are like, okay, fine, I don't use this card. So Inkmoth Nexus is a very easy card to find, very easy card to pick up, and at $5 at tops, very affordable. Basically, this is one of your kill conditions. You can wheedle them down with Inkmoth Nexus, or you can equip it with a Runechanter's Pike or a Lash Writhe and swing in for the win. On to the next card, 13 Swamps. Those are a dime a dozen. Everyone has them. If you don't have them, then you obviously don't play Magic. Self-explanatory here. The next card is kind of fluff. You don't absolutely need it, but it's nice. Each land is a swamp additional of its other land types. The reason they put this in is because of this guy here, Funeral Charm. One of the options of Funeral Charm is one of your creatures can swamp walk until end of turn. So Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, can act as a unblockable finisher for your Vat Mother Crusader with synergy with the Funeral Charm. We'll go over Funeral Charm later. Let's just keep going down the list here. Thing is, though, Urbark Tomb, we're talking about affordable decks. This is your one expensive card if you want it in your deck. It's around $12 for the from the Vaults Realms version that this one's showing here, and it's around $15 for whatever set it was in when it was initially released. But as a one-of, that's still pretty affordable. And like I said, it's fluff. You absolutely do not need this card. It's just nice to have. So let's go down to the core of your deck, which are the Infect creatures. The first one is Phyrexian Crusader. This guy is amazing right now in Modern format, as the two most common removals that you see are, number one is Lightning Bolt, which he dodges because he's pro-red, and the other one is Path to Exile, which he has pro-white. So there's two cards that he completely dodges. Another card that is gaining popularity is Doomblade, and Doomblade is Destroy Target non-black creature. A lot of people are switching over from Go for the Throat because Doomblade does not hit anything from the Affinity deck. But Go for the Throat hits Deathrite Shaman and Bob and a few other black nuisance cards. So you got to kind of fill out your field and see which ones your opponents are going to be playing. Is there going to be more black decks or more Affinity decks before you choose which one of these removals to use? But Crusader, since we're on the topic of talking about him, he dodges Doomblade, and that's just another cool advantage to Phyrexian Crusader. Another good thing about him is he has First Strike. First Strike, a lot of time, if you're going up against a 3/4 Tarmogoyf, and you're able to block the Phyrexian Crusader, your Crusader will be able to live and put counters on the Goyf, and yeah, that's awesome. Also, the Pro-White is so amazing in this format right now. Completely shuts down Brian Kibler's Hate Bears deck, as everything is white. Basically, everything in that deck is usually white or green and white. It shuts down Soul Sisters. Oh man, this card is a pain. This deck is basically an auto winner versus my Soul Sisters deck. I tested out quite extensively last night and didn't win any games, even with nutty draws. I mean, life gain is pointless. I could be up to 85 life and still die to a Phyrexian Crusader from the Infect, and I really can't get around this card and as much disruption as this deck has. There's no way my Soul Sisters can beat this. So Crusader's awesome against Burn as well. When I used to play Burn pretty religiously when I first got into Modern, because that was another cheap deck, cards like Arc Champion, or even Core Firewalker would completely shut my deck down because they can block my Goblin Guides or Keldon Marauders all day long, and I needed that creature damage to get in there for the 20. So Crusader acts kind of the same way against Burn. Goblin Guides, they have no way to remove it, and Goblin Guides and Keldon Marauders are obsolete, and Vexing Devils, which is seeing a ton of play. On to the next card, which is Phyrexian Vat Mother. I was very excited to see that this card is seeing play right now, because I loved it. When Besieged was spoiled, I loved this card, and I thought it would definitely see play. A 4/5 for 4 mana is awesome, but a 4/5 with Infect, basically making it an 8/5, is amazing. It's a 3-turn clock, but a 2-turn clock with either a Crusader or an Inkmoth Nexus on board. And it's just, I mean, then you get a poison counter. Who cares? You're not going to kill yourself with a Phyrexian Vat Mother. Another card I was thinking that maybe could replace a Vat Mother would be Skittles. Maybe a 1 of Skittles, or possibly even a 2 of Skittles. Skittles, what I mean by that, that's the slang we use, the nickname we use for Skithrix, the Blight Dragon. I will try to find a card there. I'll link it. Maybe let's do a search here for you. Anyway, Skittles is a 4/4 for 5 flying Infect Dragon, and for 6 he has an activation. He has two abilities, two black regenerate, which is pretty cool, and 1 black it gains haste until end of turn. So you could actually pay it for 6 for haste. And the cool thing with Lashwraith, you saw this back in the good old Mirrodin days. Lashwraith on turn 6, basically play this turn 4. And then turn 6, you can equip Skittles for exactly, if you have 6 swamps in play, you can equip Lashwraith to Skittles and swing in for exactly the win, exactly 10 Infect. So it's cool synergy with Lashwraith. And that was basically the whole combo in that deck, was the same thing. It was a lot of hand disruption and removal, and wait till you get a Skittles and win on 1 turn. So I'm thinking about testing out Skittles and seeing how Skittles works. And Skittles is only $5 right now. Very affordable. $5 for a Mythic is awesome. Anyway, there's the core of the deck. We'll go on to the removal package. 4 Disfigures right now is being used mainly because of Bob, Lavamancer, and Deathrite Shaman, mostly for Deathrite Shaman. This card also completely shuts down fairies, does a number on Merfolk if you take out their lords. Kills a lot of things in the format right now, and an instant speed into 1 is a very good card. And I would say that you do have a choice on which removal package you want to use, but I would stick to Fortis figures. I think they're that good. They're common. They cost you nothing. I don't know if I typed out Vatmother. Vatmother is a bulk rare. You can find it for 25 cents. Very, very cheap. Crusader was $2. I can't remember if I specified that or not. So Disfigure, bulk rare, easy to find because it's out of Zendikar. Zendikar didn't rotate that long ago. People have plenty of them in their bulk piles. You can find them in your local stores. I was looking through my local stores bulk, and they had plenty of them in there. Then we go on to our 2 mana removals. You have a plethora of options here with your 2 mana. There's Doomblade, there's Victim of the Night, there is, what's the 2 mana one out of Mirrodin, Scars of Mirrodin? They get -4/-4 until end of turn. You've got that one, you've got Guess Verdict, you have Go for the Throat, you have Ultimate Price. Just so many 2 mana removal spells. Basically, it's your choice which one you want to use. Yeah, and you can find them for really cheap. Go for the Throat is more expensive than most, but you don't have to use it. And like I said, if your affinity is big in your field, I would suggest not using it anyway. Funeral Charm's a card I haven't been able to find yet because it's out of Visions, or it's one of those like Time Spiral, whatever they call it. What do they call that rarity? There's only one per a couple packs or whatnot, and so I mean it's only 25 cents. Like, it's not an expensive card. I just can't find them. But this card's awesome. The reason why they play this again is with the synergy with Urbog, Tomb of Yawgmoth. And another reason why is the second ability is actually very pertinent. You can kill off a Lavamancer, you can kill off a Noble Hierarch, you can kill off a Birds of Paradise, you can kill off a Viscera Seer. Lots of targets that are 1 toughness in the format that +2/+1 kills it. But another cool thing about it is it actually can act as a pump to your own dudes. I mean, if Phyrex and Vatmother are not going to kill with +2/+1, or Crusader, a 4/1 Infect is pretty cool. A 4/1 for Striker, too. You can actually, that scenario I gave earlier with the Tarmogoyf, say a Tarmogoyf swinging in for a 4/5 to your Phyrexian Crusader, then you can just pump it with Funeral Charm and kill the Goyf with First Strike Infect. So it won't quite kill. Make a 0/1, though. Anywho, that's good, and it's just got, and then the last ability, of course, giving it Swamp Walk, we already talked about with Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, is awesome. Plus the amount of Godless Shrines and Overgrown Tombs and Blood Crypts running around. Swamp Walk is basically almost every matchup you're going to get it. All right, talked about Go for the Throat. Now we have your Disruption package. Your Disruption package is basically, there's 3 cards I recommend. You actually have an option of 4, but Despise I think is really bad in this deck because you have so much creature removal that getting rid of a creature first, you want to hit a non-creature spell, and that is why I either recommend Inquisition of Kozilek, Duress, or Thoughtseize. But since we're talking about affordable decks, I'm going to cut Thoughtseize out. Thoughtseize is a $4 card right now. It should drop in price once Modern Masters is released. I'm hoping that they've said that they're gonna mess around with rarities as well. I could actually see Thoughtseize as an uncommon, maybe, or a mythic. I don't know, but it's at $40 now. It's definitely not affordable. But Inquisition is a very affordable alternative, and Inquisition still is around $5 to $8. But when this is your most expensive card out of your deck, it's something you can easily afford, and it is necessary. I like it over Duress because basically everything in Modern is a 3 or less, and if you need to get rid of a Goyf, you can get rid of a Goyf. If you need to get rid of another creature that you have to, a Kitchen Sphinx or Sphinx, not Sphinx, or whatnot, yeah, you can Inquisition it away. Duress is a great alternative, though. It's a great poor man's alternative. It does basically the same thing, but as I said, it can't get a creature. Raven's Crime, again, another common that's easy to find out of Eventide. This card's very powerful because you don't care what, by the time that you're using Wrench Mines, Inquisitions, Funeral Charms, they're going to be out of cards anyway, and so you're going to get rid of their last cards here. And the cool ability is Retrace. After you have like 4 lands, you don't need lands anymore, so you can just keep pitching the lands to grab your Raven's Crime again and making them discard any sort of cards that they may draw. So on to the finisher. Runechanter's Pike works kind of like the good old Delver deck. You just control the field until you get Runechanter's Pike equipped to Unique Moth Nexus or Crusader and swing in for the win. These run around $1 to $2, very affordable. Great card as well. Giving your Vat Mother first strike is amazing, even if you don't have any spells in the yard. Sign of Blood, common out of a ton of sets. Very easy to find, costs a nickel. Another good card in this deck because it kind of acts like a Thought Scour. It adds a sorcery to your graveyard for Runeterror's Pike and card advantage. You draw 2 cards and you lose 2 life. There is an alternative to this as well. I don't know the name of it. Someone can tell me in the comments. It's 1 colorless and a black. Does basically the same thing, except it's you draw. It doesn't say target player. And you never know. Sign of Blood could actually act as a kill condition if they've if they bob themselves or they shock themselves down to 2 life. You could actually kill them with it. And actually with Lash Writhe in your sideboard, Lash Writhe can act as a beater, and you never know. Sign of Blood could actually be the difference in killing them off. I've killed people off with Sign of Blood in zombies in the past. So, I guess that there's your alternatives. Either a colorless for Inkmoth Nexus or 2 black for that condition, very rare condition of actually maybe killing your opponent off with a Sign of Blood. Anyway, Wrench Mind, another amazing card, and it's a common, and I found it in my store's bulk in their Mirrodin pile. They had plenty of these. It's a very highly drafted card. It was, people seem to have a lot of these. If you just ask your buddies, they can, if they play during this time, they can scoop these up for you. They are cheap, 25 cents a piece. Very good. It's kind of like the Modern's version of Hymn to Torak. The best option we have. Again, it's hand disruption. The whole idea of this deck is to get them down to very few cards and kill them with a Crusader or Vat Mother or an Inkmoth Nexus equipped to Runeterror's Pike. Pretty straightforward. Works very well. This deck so far has been working very well against the creature-based decks and decent versus the combo deck because a lot of times combos need all their cards in their hand. If you say shut Tron out of enough, this doesn't say non-land cards. This does say non-land cards. But Funeral Charm and Raven's Crime, they can get rid of their lands as well. And a lot of times you can shut down the pieces for Tron to actually be fast enough to get out a combo, to get out their Koth. But either way, yeah, it's pretty good against combo, pretty good against the creature decks. And like I said, when I was testing it last night I tested against 2 decks. I tested against Soul Sisters, which it just wipes Soul Sisters' face. Soul Sisters can't do anything as Crusader in this much disruption. It was awful. I lost every game. And good old Brian Kibler's Hate Bears decks was pretty much shut down as well. Even though he could pitch a Loxodon and Smiter, I could just throw out a Crusader or just Doomblade that Smiter eventually. And yeah, I guess he's got a lot. Hate Bears did have a lot of things that if I force them to discard, they can get it. They can cheat it in for free. But again, everything in their deck is white. Every entire card in their deck is white, and the Crusader just eats them alive. Anyway, we'll go on to the sideboard. This particular sideboard we're looking at has 4 Duresses. Duresses come in against combo, very good card. Again, it's another great alternative to Inquisition. Then they have 3 of Lash Writhe. I don't know what they side this in against. I'll have to test it around. Same with Vampire Nighthawk. Vampire Nighthawk's another one I've seen a lot of sideboards. Personally, I don't have it in my sideboard right now. I'm using in my sideboard, I'm using Infest and Nile Spellbomb in replace of... I'm not using Ratchet Bomb either, so I'm using... Oh, Guess Verdict, Infest, Nile Spellbomb. Yeah, and Lash Writhe. Those are the cards that are in my sideboard right now. The reason why I like Nile Spellbomb, I like disrupting graveyards. I think there's plenty of graveyard decks out there. Even Jund is sort of a graveyard. You remove their graveyard, they can't abuse Deathrite Shaman, nor can they abuse Tarmogoyf. Tarmogoyf becomes a 0/1. And it's card advantage. You basically get rid of their graveyard for free with Nile Spellbomb. Infest is amazing versus any sort of creature-based deck. And what was the other card I said I used in my sideboard? Oh, Guess Verdict. Guess Verdict is amazing right now versus that Enchantments deck. And Guess Verdict makes them sack a creature. Why that is so important with Totem Armor? Totem Armor says when a creature is destroyed, remove Totem Armor. Sack is not destroyed. When you force your opponent to sack a card, that does not destroy them. It kills it. They pitch it to their graveyard, and everything on all their Totem Armors they had on that card go to the graveyard as well. Shuts that deck down. You can't target it. You can't target their creatures with Disfigure, Doomblades, whatever the rest of your deck. So Guess Verdicts are a must versus that deck. Anyway, I think that's pretty much explaining the sideboard. All the sideboard cards are pretty cheap. Infests are cheap. Nile Spellbombs are cheap. Guess Verdicts are cheap. Like I said, this deck, the core of this deck is mostly rares that are bulk, like Lash Writhe, Vat Mother, Hollow Tooth Hollow. They're rares that don't cost anything. The Disruption is all commons and commons, and the Crusaders are a whopping $2, and the Nexuses are a whopping $4 to $5. Very cheap deck, $50, competitive modern deck. You'll have good results. Like I said, these ones are consistently going 3-1-4-0 here on MTGO. I'm going to be doing some videos of me playing this deck on MTGO. I hope you enjoyed this series. I will try to, if it's popular enough, if there's enough people that enjoy this, I'll keep searching for decks that are affordable for modern and reviewing them. Anyway, this is Kevin from RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.